Friends, welcome back to the Autry Benton Show. Today we have the solicitor of the 8th Circuit, David Stumbo. I'm looking forward to getting to know him because I don't really know a lot about him, but have heard wonderful things. And he's running to be your next Attorney General. David, thank you for joining me today.
Thanks, Autry. Appreciate you having me.
Thank you for making the trip down here to Horry County.
You bet.
Good deal, good deal. So, man, I've heard nothing but good things about you. You're doing good work in the upstate, so I'm interested to get to know you today, for sure.
All right, excellent.
So good deal. I always kind of like to start here. So where'd you grow up?
I grew up, I was born in Columbia. My dad was there in grad school. He actually has roots in the PD. So okay. I never lived in the PD, but my grandparents did. So I grew up coming to Marion, South Carolina. My dad and mom both graduated from high school in Marion. My dad was actually the first scholarship basketball player for Francis Marion.
Oh, so wow.
My roots are in this area.
You got deep roots in the PD.
Right, absolutely. So Dad, after he finished at Francis Marion, moved to Columbia to go to grad school. And he is a CPA today. He's an accountant in Greenwood. But I was born in Columbia, lived the first few years of my life in Columbia. And then we moved to Greenwood. My dad took a job there in Greenwood as the chief financial officer for a bank in Greenwood. So he's in the financial sector. Don't have any lawyers in my family. Actually, I'm the first lawyer on either side of my family. So did not have a lot of roots there with in the legal community. But anyway, and we moved to Greenwood. We ended up graduating from high school there. I am one of 10 kids. That's one of
that's
people
awesome.
know about me. I'm the second oldest of 10.
Wow.
And my parents didn't set out to have 10 kids, but they ended up having 10. So I had a lot. My kids have a lot of first cousins, let's put it that way. So moved to Greenwood. I went to high school there, and then I graduated and went on to Toccoa Falls College in Northeast Georgia. Played 2 sports there, played basketball and baseball. On the Toccoa Falls College teams. Really enjoyed my time. Growing up, that was really my focus was sports. I really spent all my time in a gym.
Let me ask you this question here. So what age were you when you moved to Greenwood?
10.
10, I got you. And you were in Columbia before that?
Correct.
Do you remember living in Columbia at all?
Oh, yes, I do. In fact, we had a little house off Trentham Road in Columbia. For those watching know the Columbia area. Down the Forest Acres area. Grew up right across from a little place called Mays Park. It was a little city park in Columbia. And my brother and I spent hours just riding our bikes around the neighborhood, playing, front yard tackle football. It's a miracle none of us got hurt. Had a great group of friends there until we were 10 and then moved to Greenwood. And that's, where my family has been ever since. My wife, Vanessa, grew up in Lawrence County on a little dairy farm, a little town called Mountville, which is between Greenwood and Clinton.
Yeah.
So our roots are really deep in that area. Ultimately, really, and I can get more into my background professionally in a minute and what took us back to the 8th Circuit. Actually, Vanessa and I were married after college.
Let's hang on for I got questions, man.
Okay.
So let me tell you, moving from Columbia to Greenwood, was that a big deal? What was your thoughts of that?
It was a little traumatic, I guess, for a 10-year-old.
So your dad just took another job?
He did, just took another job, and so I had to leave a lot of friends in the school I was in. I had to start brand new on day one as a 5th grader in Greenwood, didn't know a soul. We moved there in the summertime right before school. So it was tough, but I really enjoyed Greenwood. I grew to love it. At first it was, I didn't love it because I loved where I was from.
Yeah.
But
was that more rural or because Columbia was kind of busy,
Columbia's more, city setting, and then we moved to Greenwood, smaller town. But I really liked the small town setting. And in fact, I love living there now. I think Greenwood is a great place to raise a family.
Right.
So it was a good change for us. Really have some of my oldest friends now are guys I grew up with in Greenwood.
Yeah.
Really, my friends I had in Columbia when we were younger, I've lost contact with. So that's where home I would consider for me is Greenwood.
Yeah.
And it's for that reason that's where I spent the formative years of my life.
Yeah.
And that's where my family still is, and that's where my wife and I live.
Yeah.
Raised our kids in Greenwood.
That's great, man. That had to be a change though from moving cities, man. That had to be something. So tell me about having 10 siblings.
That was a fun thing. To me, It was wild. There was never a dull moment. A lot of people do think, though, that, okay, you had 10 kids. That means it's like old Mother Hubbard in the shoe, and there's little kids coming out of the woodwork.
Yeah.
But it was progressive. So I was the second oldest. So my mom had my youngest sister when she was 45.
Okay.
I was born when she was 22. So my parents got married very young. My older brother and I were born, 2.5 years apart. So we were the older siblings of the whole group. So we grew up kind of taking care of our younger siblings in a lot of ways. They saw, my youngest siblings kind of almost had a relationship with me like I was their uncle more than their brother.
Okay.
I think about me growing up, I had some uncles that were my parents' younger siblings.
Right.
That's kind of the role, even though we grew up in the same house. But it was I'll tell you one thing that's great about it, Autry, is so many kids grow up and they're very self-absorbed and self-centered.
Yeah.
It was kind of impossible to be that way in a house with 10 kids. You had to be part of a team and part of everybody had to play their part in the house for it to run in an orderly way. And so we had chores and everybody had their responsibilities, and you had to treat people with respect or it was going to fall apart.
Yeah.
And so I'm very thankful for the family I had and growing up in a big family. I think it was a real blessing.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. That's awesome. So, the older kids, do you feel like you were closer to them? I mean, even today, or is that?
They are, but we still take these trips. We came down a couple summers ago, Autry, and we rented a house, the whole family. My parents now have 39 grandkids. So think about this. My kids.
I'd hate to buy them Christmas presents.
Right. So we came down here for a family beach trip, and my mom, bless her, she bought all these T-shirts, with the numbers on the front, 1 through 39. Yeah. And all the kids were color coded. So the shirts are color coded by which family, which one of us they come
I love it, man.
So my kids are 3, 6, 9, and 13 of the 39. So we all had a great time at the beach. We still all get along great. Even my younger siblings, my youngest brother, Patrick, who's still in his late 20s, and he's a dad now. He called me the other day and just told me he loved me and was thinking about me. He said, he knows I'm running around the state and campaigning.
Yeah.
And so, I have good relationships, I think, with all my siblings. But even though the older ones are, my older brother Jonathan and I were kind of best friends growing up. We had the same group of friends.
Yeah, that's great. As you're talking, I got 4 kids. You got 4 kids, right? We'll get there. I think that's a lot of kids in our day and time. I don't hold a candle to that, though, man. But a lot of times people ask me, that's a lot of responsibility. It's a busy house, and it is, no doubt. But I think now having older kids, think about the blessings that we have. You got a big family. I'm having grandkids now and stuff. It's wonderful, man. You got I think big families are wonderful. There's a lot of blessings that come out of it.
Absolutely. And I'm excited about being a granddad too. Yeah. Hopefully that will soon.
It's all it's cracked up to be. I can tell you that.
It's awesome. So I know you're blessed getting to see those grandbabies.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Thank you for the insight there. So that's great. That's great. So Greenwood, growing up, go through school. Sports is big. You were telling me, right? So what sports do you play?
I played 3 sports in high school. I played football, basketball, baseball, and but on the college level, I played 2. I played for Tacoma Falls College. I played basketball for 2 seasons. After my sophomore year, I left the basketball team and I played baseball for 4. So
that's awesome.
And the main reason for that is I just wanted to focus on baseball my last 2 years there. I was starting outfielder on the baseball team. Yeah. Basketball didn't play quite as much. I was a guy on the bench, but I really loved both sports. Played football also in high school and loved that.
Yeah.
There's nothing more, I think, that's closer to like a band of brothers. Probably the closest thing to a military unit that a young man can get today is playing football.
Oh, yeah.
And so our son played as well, played football, and I think it's playing team sports teaches you so much about life, and I think helps me today. Plus, you're in pressure situations, and I think about being on the foul line, shooting, having to hit a couple free throws to ice a game. And it's similar now walking in a courtroom and having to close the deal on a closing argument, put a bad guy behind bars. So, being in pressure situations is something that you can't replicate that growing up playing sports. So I think it's very valuable.
Yeah.
And I was thankful for those opportunities.
That's awesome. So you answered my question. What was your favorite sport? So baseball?
Basketball was for most of my life.
Okay.
Baseball, it turns out I was probably a little bit better of a baseball player than basketball, but I really loved basketball. Part of that went back to my dad playing college basketball at Francis Marion.
Yeah.
And so, I kind of grew up wanting to be like my dad.
Yeah. Oh.
It was a goal of mine to play college basketball. And it happened to be that baseball, I was just probably a better fit there, but basketball is probably my favorite.
Wow, man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so you're kind of in college now. So did you know that you wanted to go into the law going into college, or?
I thought about it a little bit when I was in school, Autry. When I was in college, my two paths. I majored in philosophy and history because I loved both of those subjects at Toccoa Falls. But I thought either one of two career paths. One is I would either go be a coach and teach history and government and those types of classes on the high school level and be a high school coach, or law school. And the reason law school, my mom always told me she thought I'd be a good lawyer, and that kind of stuck with me. She said, "You argue pretty good." So, okay,
yeah,
good. That may be a good path too. And the other thing is, my college roommate ended up going and working in law enforcement, and he's a dear friend of mine to this day. And one of the things he told me early on is he felt like a lot of times their cases, he was out there risking his life putting his life on the line and arresting dangerous people, and they go up to court, and they felt like the prosecutors weren't always respectful of what they went through.
Wow.
And they felt like there's a lot of times the ball was getting dropped in the courtroom on cases they were making, and how much that demoralized them. So that really compelled me to think about, as I got through school, Vanessa and I met, started dating, and were married a year after I finished Toccoa Falls, moved home to Greenwood. And I thought, okay, we prayed about it and thought, maybe this is the path to go to law school. So, but going into law school, my goal was to go work with law enforcement and be a prosecutor. I felt like it was, I wanted to be a public servant. And so that's the goal I went into law school with. To be a prosecutor.
That's awesome. So at what point did you meet your wife?
We actually knew each other when we were younger. We went to church at the same church, and she was good friends. Vanessa was good friends with my younger sister, Lainey. So I'm 3.5 years older than my wife.
Okay.
So growing up, though, she was kind of the little sister's friend, just kind of like, didn't really pay as much attention to her then. So I come home to her sister's wedding, which was my senior year of college. So come home over Christmas. Her sister was married. We went to the wedding, and she was in the wedding, and I just kind of, opened my eyes to, I kind of like what I'm seeing here. I may want to ask Vanessa out.
Yeah. So at what point you were at college now?
I was a senior
in college. Okay.
I've known her ever since we were young.
I got you.
At that point, I was 22. She was 18, almost 19. So we were, young adults by that point. And I really just thought when I get home from school, I'm going to ask her out and see what happens. And thankfully, if any of those of you who have seen my wife know that I far outkicked my coverage. So I was glad she said yes.
Good.
And we went out, and one thing led to another. We were married within a year of dating.
Awesome.
And so after that, went to law school a couple of years later. But at the time, my brother and I, Autry, were running a small business.
Oh, wow.
My brother and I ran a sign business in Greenwood. There's nothing like a small business setting to kind of teach you about life. You're having to make money, and you're losing money, you're making money, you're trying to make ends meet with the business. That's tough. And so working in that business really, I think, taught me things that I still use as an attorney today. During that 3-year time period when I was a small business owner with my older brother, Jonathan. And so we really had a good time doing that. That was when Vanessa and I started dating. We were young adults. We got married, but I took the LSAT, decided after much prayer, hey, it's time to move to Columbia. And I was accepted, thankfully, into USC Law School. So back we went to Columbia, where I was born. And we spent 11 years there.
And you were married at this point?
We were married.
I got you.
Moved back and started law school. My son, Gabe, who was almost 25, was born my first year of law school.
Wow, but you had a lot going on then. My daughter's in law school now, and how hard it is. You had a lot going on. That had to be a challenging point.
It was, but it was a good time. Vanessa and I talk about that. We didn't have two nickels to rub together. Life was difficult, but some of the best years of our marriage were when we just had to lean on each other and rely on the Lord's provision. I still look back and think, how do we make it? Raising a kid, me in law school. Vanessa was working part-time as a bank teller in Columbia, but the Lord was gracious and provided every time. We made great friends. We were in a great church in Columbia that supported us, and just a good time of life there early in our marriage.
That's great. Well, you've hit on a couple times that you're a man of faith.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Tell me about that.
I was saved at an early age, came to know Christ. I knew that I was a sinner. I knew I needed Jesus to save me from my sins. And that was the foundation from early in my life. Unlike anybody else, you get saved early and you have times where you walk away from the Lord and come back. And certainly I had those times in high school and college where I wasn't walking with the Lord like I should have been. But, my faith story is one that God keeps bringing me back like prodigal son.
Amen.
And ultimately, that's how we've raised our children in church. And I'm thankful for growing up in a Christian home. Taught me a lot of the right things in life and a lot of my biblical worldview today, and how I conduct myself professionally, work professionally, is so dependent on the way I see the world, which is through the eyes of Jesus. And so that's our story in the faith. When my wife grew up in a Christian home and as a believer, so we've raised our children that way too, and so that's our testimony. And really am thankful for the godly influences I've had in my life that have shaped in a lot of ways who I am today.
Amen. The most important decision in life.
Yes, sir.
Amen. Amen. Thank you for sharing that.
You bet.
That's great. That's great. So at this point, so tell me what's some marriage advice you'd give our listeners today?
That's a good question. Always think about, to me, what's in the best interest of your spouse. If that's your starting point with the decisions you make, and you're looking for ways to serve your spouse and lay your life down for them, and then they're doing the same for you, marriage is one of the greatest things ever. When you're not doing that, and you're kind of doing your own thing and making selfish decisions, it's not a great situation. So just pour yourself out and be selfless and listen. I mean, to me, listening and not being first to speak, listen first before speaking. I think that is a critical part of having a good marriage, thriving marriage.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. I appreciate you saying that. A lot of times I'm a believer just like you in the Bible. Sometimes the world don't understand the whole verse talking about the submission thing, but I think the burden's heavier on the man, to love your wife as Christ loved the church. Right. I think if any man loves his wife that way, gosh knows, you won't have no problem with any of the rest of it.
And that's the model. Jesus sacrificing himself and laying down his life, right? And so if we're loving our wives like Christ loved the church, that literally means that we're laying our lives down for them, and it's about them, not about us. And so that model will never lead you wrong if you're loving your wife like Christ.
Yeah, amen. That's good. Good deal. All right, tell me about kids. Tell me how many kids you got.
We have 4. My son Gabriel, who I mentioned was born first year of law school, is almost 25. He is married now, so we have a daughter-in-law, Hannah. We love Hannah, and she's such a blessing to our family. But Gabe and Hannah live up in the Greenville area. He, after high school, ended up going to work for BMW. Was in their scholar program. So basically he was working there and getting a 2-year degree while he was there. And now he's been full-time there for 4 years now, and really has thrived at BMW. They live in the Fountain Inn area, and we're actually about to build their first house.
Wow.
Hannah works at a CVS there. So that's our oldest, Gabe, and his wife, Hannah. And then we have a 21-year-old, Hallie Ruth. Hallie Ruth played a year of college volleyball up at North Greenville University. She was a star athlete in high school, played 3 sports, but ended up volleyball's her main sport. Played a year up there, but then decided after a year she was ready to hang up college sports. She moved home and has been in nursing school.
Oh, wow.
Working as a barista. So Hallie Ruth is now about to finish nursing school. She's doing an externship at Self Regional in Greenwood, which is our regional hospital system. And about to launch into her career in the medical field.
Yeah.
Our two youngest daughters are Maggie Brooke. Maggie is almost 18. She is in her senior year at Greenwood High School. About to graduate from there, and we're real proud of Maggie and love her. And then Annie is
What's her plans? You got any plans?
well, she's
trying to figure it out.
She doesn't know yet. She's probably going to take a year and try to work a little bit and figure out, maybe take some classes. She is actually going to graduate from high school with a 2-year associate's degree.
Oh,
So
wow.
she went
That's
to the
impressive.
college.
Yeah.
So she has a little bit of time since she's already basically finished her first 2 years of college.
Yep.
To figure out what the next step is. It may be college, it may be in the workforce, but we love Maggie. She's kind of our child that's our free spirit.
Yeah.
I kind of call her my little hippie child. I love her. And that way she loves music, loves to get out into nature. We go hiking and stuff. So Maggie's got a lot of just love for life. And so we're not sure yet.
Yeah.
Annie is our 10th grader, and she's our baby of the family. Looks like, though, she is going to skip her 11th grade year and finish next year and graduate from high school a little bit early. So that's her plan. And so she plays volleyball on the high school level and enjoys that. So that's our 4 kids, and we love all 4 of them. And our 4 plus 1, Hannah, is we love our daughter-in-law too. And we're just so blessed, and I'm excited about the granddad years coming up.
Yeah.
We have so many great things in front of us.
That's great. David, isn't it amazing how your kids can have different personalities to come from the same people? It's interesting, right?
It really is. Really is. They're all 4 very, very different kids.
Yeah. And, we touched on it. I think a lot of kids coming out of high school try to figure it out. You're certainly a dad of 4 kids. What advice did you give to your kids coming out trying to figure out the life path and what to do? What advice did you give them?
That's a great question. I think it's important for us as parents to not pigeonhole our kids. I think sometimes parents want their kids to do specific things, and whether it's to be the next Tom Brady or Ronald Acuna Jr. A lot of times parents get obsessive, I've seen, with sports.
Yeah.
And this is something that's raising our kids. I think what we need to do is, push them to do things with excellence.
Yeah.
No matter what you're doing, do it as unto the Lord and do it with excellence. But find something in life that you enjoy doing, because there's a lot of people, they go to work every day and they just really are miserable in the career path, and they feel like they're stuck in it. Now, part of it, sometimes work isn't always fun too.
Oh, no.
So, but find something that you at least enjoy doing and people that you enjoy working with.
I say most days of the week you enjoy it.
Yes, that's right. At least enjoy it in the sense that this is something that I'm finding purpose in.
Yeah.
And so find what you're good at and what you enjoy and pursue it with everything you have. And be a coworker, because there's so many jobs out there, you're having to work in a team. And so, again, that selflessness attitude of looking out for the best interest of the people you work with, I think will lead to great things professionally for you. So that's another piece of advice I give is be always looking out for your coworkers, be a great team player. Don't try to undermine other people. There's so many people, and they're just looking to climb that ladder. Autry. And, so that's probably the main pieces of advice. Do something you enjoy, and try to find a job where you enjoy the people you work with. And you're going to be with them 40 plus hours a week. Make sure you enjoy what you do.
Tell me about law school. Was it tough for you?
It was. First year is the toughest. And I'm sure your daughter will tell you the same thing, because they're really trying to weed out the ones, and they asking you questions. You're having to answer stuff on your feet about case law you've read.
Right.
So that first year is the toughest. A lot of times school gets harder as it goes along. I found that law school was the hardest at the beginning, and then it kind of tapered off a little bit.
Right.
And then you have to, and I think the reason for that is they know you're going to have to study for the bar exam at the end. So your third year of law school is not as bad.
Yeah.
Then you have to, really buckle down and study for the bar. So it's tough. The bar exam is one of the hardest things I've ever had to do.
Did you take it coming right out of law school?
I did.
Yeah, you did.
So we, studying for that, and it was back then it was a 3-day exam. We went for 3 days down to the fairgrounds in Columbia. That's the only place they offered it in South Carolina. And it was tough. Study and figure that out. But I'm thankful for the career that God has opened these doors to allow me to be in. Going to law school was was just the beginning of so many great things in my career.
So you passed it, I'm sure, no problem. So how excited were you? I mean,
I was nervous. Let me tell you, when you have a kid, and then we had our daughter, Hallie Ruth, was born 10 days before she was 10 days before I was sworn in, but Vanessa was pregnant with Hallie Ruth, 9 months pregnant, about to have her.
Yeah.
The law school exam results came out on Halloween Day, 2005.
Right.
And Hallie Ruth was born about 5 days later on November 5th, 2000.
Life was happening quickly, wasn't it?
And so as I'm sitting there scrolling down, it's a funny story. We didn't have high-speed internet at the time. Now everybody just expects get online and everything's fast. Well, at the time it was dial-up internet that we had in the house. And so as I was scrolling down the page to see if I could find my name, David Stumbo, on the pass list.
Yeah.
Every time I went to the page, it would refresh the page.
Oh, no.
It was agonizing. So,
my goodness.
Thankfully, I got down to the list, and Vanessa was standing over my shoulder, 9 months pregnant with Hallie Ruth here. So I had a lot on the line. So I was very relieved because I knew it's time to get to work, and I have a family to support. I have two kids, mouths to feed. So we had a lot on the line at the time, and I'm thankful we passed the first time. And I had a job waiting on me there because I had clerked at the Attorney General's office. So I was there at the time, and assuming I passed the bar exam, I had a job waiting on me to prosecute sexually violent predators and internet crimes against children. That was my first job as an attorney at the AG's office. I was glad to be able to kind of hit the ground running.
Who was the Attorney General then?
It was Attorney General Henry McMaster, who's now our governor. So I was hired initially by Charlie Condon when I was in law school. I ran into him at an event, and I didn't know him. I introduced myself, and he's now a practicing attorney down in Charleston. But I asked him if I could come work at his office. So I was hired as a law clerk and an intern in law school under him. But by the time I graduated and passed the bar, Henry McMaster was our Attorney General, and he offered me that job to do the internet crimes job, which was a great launching point, really, for my career. I was very thankful to pass the bar so I could start working as a prosecutor.
Yeah, and you were already established in Columbia.
We were.
Yeah, so it wasn't transitioning, moving, 2 babies in, it was no problem. You were ready. You ready to go to work.
We didn't move. The house we lived in was over in West Columbia, and Vanessa at the time, she had worked part-time as a bank teller. And so she was still doing that even when I was in law school.
Yeah.
And so we just stayed. We had a great church in Columbia. We really were blessed. Columbia Crossroads Church was the church body we were a part of, and just so many great people there. So we were really settled in there for several years.
I kind of learned something just recently here is you're into music a little bit. Tell us a little bit about that.
I am. I love playing. That's kind of a good diversion for me with all the heavy stuff we deal with in my day job as a prosecutor, all the ugliness we see. I love music. I've always loved music. I play guitar and I sing, and I do some gigs around solo when I have time. I hadn't had much time with campaigning lately. And also my brother-in-law is a professional musician, Jake Bartley. He's kind of does stuff all around the Southeast. So sometimes I get to tag along, play with those guys. Really talented group.
Well, you said one of your daughters kind of a free spirit, hippie. Did she get that from Dad? So.
I think so. I think there's a little bit of that in me there too. So I really do. We both enjoy music and go to concerts and stuff.
Who's one of your favorite musicians? I got to ask.
Well, I tell you, just singer-songwriter wise, I've always loved James Taylor. James Taylor's always been a big one for me. Chris Stapleton, kind of a more recent guy.
Yeah. Tyler
Childers is a guy that's kind of a recent country guy that's a great songwriter. So I have a number of them. I probably don't have one favorite.
But that's great. Yeah. That's great. That's good. Good. All right. So you've graduated. You got a job at the Attorney General's office. Tell us about that.
Right. So got this job prosecuting internet crimes against children.
That's a heavy subject, man.
Big time. We had just started that unit not long before then. So I was able to try the first 2 cases to a jury on this internet predator stuff that we had SLED agents working out of the Computer Crime Center and local law enforcement that had signed on to this task force that were posing as 12, 13-year-old kids in chat rooms And then these pedophiles would come out of, they were trained in how to do it without entrapping people. And, so we could make sure the convictions were solid and strong, and the cases were strong. So we tried a case in Lexington, tried one up in Oconee County. We were able to get convictions on those, and big sentences for these guys that were child predators. That was a kind of thrown in the deep end with those cases. Also did some civil commitment cases on sexually violent predators. These were guys that had already been convicted of a lot of sexual offenses and that the state deemed were too dangerous to release.
Man, they put you in the deep end to start with, and they put you in the tough stuff.
A lot of heavy stuff. And Vanessa will tell you, that a little under 3 years I was doing that work was a really tough time, just because I'd come home having to deal with that stuff, and try to be a husband and a dad. And sometimes there's nothing that kills your soul a little bit like having to see images of children being sexually abused. And the people that do the work now in the Attorney General's office and all over the state doing the internet predator work, I have the utmost respect for, because I've been there and had to do that work myself. And so that was a tough subject matter to have to deal with, but it was very rewarding because the work we were doing was protecting kids. And, if I'm elected Attorney General, that is a unit that will be very important to me for us to really make sure we're getting big convictions and sentences on these guys that are hurting our kids.
David, you early on and already you've taken me to the one question I've asked all my prosecutors sitting in this seat is, Harpoolian, Greg, and then Jimbo and you, and I asked them this: how do you, in the job you have, you're dealing with murderers, rapists, bad people, but my mind never thought of people that are hurting children, how do you go home and separate the two? How do you go be a father and a husband dealing with the heavy things of life? How do you shut it off, man? How do you get
to tell you what, Autry, a lot of prayer. I mean, I'm honest when I tell you that. I had to, I had a lot of people, and I just asked them, man, pray for us to, for me to be able to, when I go home after dealing with such intense, horrific stuff as child sex abuse, to be able to come home and function well as a dad and a husband, and be a family guy. And so it's tough. A lot of prayer and just saying, God, just shut my mind off to that stuff I was dealing with at work, so I can really turn my attention to being the husband and dad I needed to be. So there's no easy answer to that. There's no formula for doing that the right way. I think it takes a lot of help from God.
Yeah. So prayer is the answer.
Yes.
And a probably supportive spouse, I'd say.
100%. Yeah. Vanessa understood a lot of the stuff I was dealing with, and we worked through that together.
Yeah.
And that's my wife of 26 and a half years now was that I've never been as appreciative of her I am so much today. But I look back in that time and see how supportive she was, and it was amazing.
Wow. So, okay, how long did you stay in the Attorney General's office?
I was there for a little under 3 years as an attorney. Of course, I'd been a law clerk for about 2.5, 3 years before that. So then I moved on and went on to the 11th Circuit Solicitor's Office. So it was my first experience in a frontline solicitor's office.
What took you there?
I was offered a job by guys Donnie Myers was the solicitor at the time, and his deputy solicitor was a guy named Rick Hubbard, who now is the 11th Circuit Solicitor. Rick is a very good friend of mine. He introduced me actually at my announcement when I said I was running for AG, and Rick's a big supporter of mine. But I went to work there because they asked me to. They called me and said, hey, we saw that case you tried, that internet predator case. One of those was in Lexington. And so I went and tried a case in the courtroom in Lexington, and they saw me try that case. And I guess I did something right, because they said, we really want you to come work here at our office. And so they sought me out. I did an interview, and I went and worked there. It was one of the best decisions I've ever made, because for a little under 4 years, Autry, I was able to try every kind of case under the sun. I did everything from murders to sex abuse to drug trafficking, felony DUIs, just a broad-based caseload, and tried 37 cases to a verdict in a little under 4 years, which is a lot. But it's a big cases, and we're preparing. But it was just the perfect time for me to be there. God opens doors at the right time in your career, I believe. That was a time that in that office, they had, a lot of cases. They had a lot of trust in me. And when they hired me, they said, we're hiring you because we want you to be our trial guy.
Wow.
And so as a young guy, it was a real honor to be in that position there. And I ended up at the top of the trial docket a lot.
Yeah.
There's no way I could have run for solicitor at such a young age and been successful without that time in the 11th Circuit.
So you really honing your craft there.
It was.
Do you like being in the courtroom?
Loved it.
Yeah.
Loved it. I really, you realize, I remember a few times arguing a case to a jury and having that sense of this is what I was born to do.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
That's awesome, man.
Loved it. And, I've been able to carry that on. That's one of the best parts of my current job. I still try 3 or 4 cases a year.
Yeah.
Typically, I had a couple of pretty intense cases that I tried last year.
Yeah.
So, that has been, I guess, the honor of my career, being able to move on and run for office. And I know we'll get to that in a second, but throughout my prosecution career, that's been the best part of what we get to do is trying a case to a jury. I love the courtroom.
So being in the courtroom, that was your calling on this earth, was to be there and put bad guys behind bars.
Absolutely.
Man,
I honestly believe that's where God wanted me, and that's what he created me to do. So,
yeah, that's great.
So that's where we were when I was working in Lexington.
Mm-hmm.
The next step after that was I had met Alan Wilson when he ran for, long before he got into running for office. He and I were prosecutors together in my first stint at the Attorney General's office. We had tried, he was assigned a case. It was a child molestation case out of Spartanburg. Alan, because I was doing the internet crime stuff, asked me, he said, "David, will you come try this case with me?" So we went to Spartanburg for a week and tried this guy was a retired police officer who had molested his granddaughter.
Oh, my goodness.
Over the course of several years. And we were able to try that case and get a conviction. But Alan and I really forged a friendship over that. So I left right after I tried that case with Alan. I went over to work in Lexington for 4 years. And that's actually where he had worked for a period of time. Alan had worked in that solicitor's office as well. But when he was elected AG, he called me and said, "David, I really need somebody to help run the statewide grand jury." And so I left the solicitor's office and went to work for Alan when he was sworn in as AG, and helped. Creighton Waters was a friend of mine. Creighton was there helping run the grand jury too. We were both supervising a unit there in the grand jury. And so got to do a lot of public corruption cases there at the time. That was a big part of our caseload in the statewide grand jury. Worked some high-level drug trafficking cases. Had a big Mexican cartel that was running black tar heroin out of Myrtle Beach in this area.
Yeah.
And that was one of the big drug cases I was able to work on at the time. And the head honchos of that operation were in a Mexican drug cartel.
Oh, my goodness.
They had local people that were running. They run it through Myrtle Beach and supplying areas all over the Southeast. So that was a very intriguing case. We had federal, state, and local agencies all involved with that, which I really learned about how you really take down big drug operations working that job. It was a great opportunity for me to supervise a group of lawyers in that office too. So that was about a year and a half of doing that.
Yeah.
Autry. And then I thought I'd be in that job for a number of years. It was a great job. We were settled in there in Columbia. And out of nowhere, I had 2 sheriffs and a police chief in the 8th Judicial Circuit, where I was from, call me and ask me if I'd take the day off and come talk to them. So we had a closed door meeting, and they were kind of keep quiet because the meeting was about how upset they were at the current solicitor administration, and their office was not trying a lot of cases. They were really struggling to get convictions on really important bad guys. And so they were asking me, would you consider leaving your job at the AG's office and moving home and running for solicitor in the 8th Circuit? And, it's kind of, again, came out of nowhere. And I thought, well, we're really comfortable in Columbia. But I told them, look, guys, thank you. When we go home, I'll talk to my wife about it, and we'll pray about it, and we'll see if there's something there. I drove away from that thinking, no way. That's a huge jump and risk,
Yeah.
especially running against an incumbent solicitor.
Yeah.
Running against an incumbent solicitor is tough. Well, I mean, I know that now. I guess I'm thankful for that now, that it's tough to run against an incumbent solicitor. But be that as it may, at the time, I went home and talked to Vanessa, and she, as we prayed about it, she just cried and said, because she would love her friends and love our kids' friends. We were settled in Columbia, but she just said, I really feel strongly that this is what God's calling you to do, and had that sense. And I trusted my wife's discernment on that, and I really felt that call too. Like this is this next step, even though it seems like timing's kind of crazy. So we did that. We left the AG's office. God opened doors for me to get a job in Greenwood with an attorney there to help put food on the table while I was running. And a place for us to live while I was running. And those doors opened up very quickly. And so we felt like, well, God's opening the doors. Let's walk through them.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the process here now.
What year is this? What year is it?
2012.
2012, okay.
So it was the end of 2011.
Yeah.
We were trying to decide if we were going to do this. And we moved right before New Year's in 2012. Had to file in March. So it was all happened really fast. Had to file for the office in March of 2012, which is almost 14 years ago now. Moved our kids up there, and again, things happened in that campaign that I can't explain.
Yeah.
And I think God wanted to see us in that position. And so we had support come out of all corners. But I can tell you the big support that I had and why I was elected was law enforcement wanted a change.
Wow.
And they had seen the work I'd done around the state. I had a high level of confidence that I could be that guy. And I was, just humbled to have that confidence of these guys. I was 36 years old at the time. We'll be 50 this year.
Yeah. Still a young man.
Right. That's still got many years left here. But we won that race, I know, because law enforcement was so heavily supportive of us.
Yeah. And, in two thoughts, leaving the AG's office, so you're very familiar how that office works.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Been there in 2 different stints. Been there as a law clerk. I worked in the opinions section of that office back when I was in law school, and was involved with some religious liberty cases with Bob Cook, who's still the guy there that does a lot of the government litigation and opinions. I got to know Don Zelenko really well. He's one of the best appellate death penalty appeals lawyers in the state. He's a very close friend of mine. Don is still at that office, but I got to sit at the feet of some guys that were just phenomenal prosecutors and lawyers in that office. And so that really, learning about all the different sections of the office was important too. And so when I came back after, Alan was elected, and I was in the statewide grand jury and got to learn that section really well, because my time before as a prosecutor, I wasn't doing the statewide grand jury. We were just doing the internet crime stuff around the state. So I got another taste of a very important division of that office there at the statewide grand jury. So I'm very familiar with the office. I'm very familiar with the people of that office, many of which are still there from the time I was there. And I look forward to leading that group of people if I'm elected AG.
And the other thought, just you telling your story, is like, you really went to work there. I mean, you were in the courtroom, you prosecuted all kind of different crimes. I mean, you were well versed on how to prosecute a case there, right?
Absolutely. And it's tough being a prosecutor there, because you're kind of, you're not in the courthouse.
Yeah.
So you have cases all over the state, and you're having to come into courtrooms all over South Carolina.
Yeah.
And you really need to have good relationships with the solicitors.
Yeah.
Which I felt like I'd built really good relationships with the solicitors even before I became one.
Yeah.
Because I was going around the state as an assistant AG, trying cases and prosecuting cases.
Yeah. And I appreciate that. So getting elected, you says law enforcement, them coming to you, that had to be something law enforcement wanted to change, certainly helped you get elected. Okay, so you're elected by the people there. Setting up your office, were you excited? Tell me about that, setting up your office and the way you approached your office that day.
I was, and I really felt like we had a young crew there at the time. We really had to train up a lot of young attorneys that were even a little bit younger than me. We kept a lot of the people that were there. And I think that they just needed strong leadership. There were a lot of young guys there that were actually very capable, but the mindset of the office before I came in was just to smooth the docket, to smooth the numbers.
Okay.
And to me, if that's your first priority without public safety and fighting crime being your top priority and getting justice on bad guys, then it just becomes like a case mill. We're just moving cases. And when you're just trying to do that, you end up shortchanging a lot of cases, I believe.
Okay.
And you're not getting good results in your plea, the pleas, guilty pleas too.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're doing plea negotiations, which is part of the process,
Mm-hmm.
if the defense attorney and the defendant know you're not going to ever take it to trial because you either don't care, or you aren't capable of it, or your priority is just moving the case.
Yeah.
If they don't even think they're going to have to go to trial and face the music in front of a jury,
Yeah.
you're probably not going to get a very good result in that plea negotiation. So I believed, and this was a culture change that we brought to that office, that we have to try cases, the worst people on the docket, the most dangerous people, the repeat offenders, the ones that law enforcement is telling us are the biggest problems. We have to hit them hard first and make a statement.
Set an example.
Set examples. And then what happens from that is you can move the docket in a better way. So you're getting better results when people plead guilty because they know, well, I'm going to take this reasonable offer that the prosecutor's given so I don't get the horns if I go to trial. So that was the mindset change that we had, Autry, when I took office. And what I felt like I needed to do was lead by example.
Yeah.
And so the first 2 years I was in office in 2013 and 2014, I tried 20 cases. So
wow, that's a heavy load.
We prepared cases to trial. Now, some of them pled guilty the day of trial, so some of them ended up being guilty pleas, but we prepared 20 cases and got big results on those cases. A lot of them went to a verdict. Some of them, we got not guilties on, a few of them. But law enforcement knew at that point, and crime victims knew we were going to go to battle. We were going to go to war to keep our communities safe. And that was a completely different kind of shift in the Eighth Circuit that I believe my leadership style brought.
So it was a change.
It was a big change.
Yeah.
And then even though there was some young guys there that had worked under the previous administration, some of them are my leaders now.
That's great.
Have stuck with me for 13 years and now are my deputy solicitors that were with me. In fact, one of the first guys I've ever hired was Micah Black. Micah was coming out of Liberty Law School. He went to law school at Liberty, played baseball at PC. Mike was a great guy. But I hired him as his first job out of law school. He worked with us for 12 years, went and ran for solicitor in Anderson and Oconee. The 10th Circuit was where he grew up. And so he moved home, and law enforcement asked him to run. So the two sheriffs in that circuit were highly supportive of him. Now, he did not run against the incumbent. The incumbent retired. He was another good friend of mine, David Wagner. Retired, and Micah ran for an open seat there. But there again, law enforcement was ready for kind of a shift change there in the mindset, and Micah brought that. So I think, seeing kind of what I did in 2012 replicated in 2024 with a guy that was, one of the guys that I kind of raised up as a prosecutor has been very rewarding. And he's doing great things in the 10th Circuit now, Autry. I heard just the other day from law enforcement up there that they're just tickled pink with joy that they have these guys that are trying a lot of cases. Mike is trying a lot of them himself. So he did a lot of what I did when I started as the 8th.
So just setting a strong example. How you feel with death penalty?
100% in favor of it. In fact, we've had 4 cases that I've litigated, one of which is still being litigated. I can't talk about it because it's a pending case, but it's set to go to trial in August. So looks like we're going to come out of a primary battle for AG, win, lose, or draw. And I'm going to be trying a death penalty case in August is what it is on the schedule now. I've had 3 other death penalty cases that we have worked in my time as solicitor. One of them was a guy who killed a police officer in the line of duty. That one, unfortunately, we had a judge declare that the defendant was mentally or intellectually disabled is the term for it now, which is really the modern day terminology for mental retardation. But we disagreed with that. We fought that battle as far as we could fight it. And we didn't believe he was. But ultimately, we tried that case. He was convicted. He was sentenced to 2 consecutive life sentences, and that guy died in prison about 3 years after we tried the case.
Yeah.
So looking back on it now, even if we had gone through that case all the way to a death sentence,
Yeah.
and the judge had not pulled the rug out from under us, he would have died in prison anyway on death row. And so
We'll quickly run out of time. I won't travel quick. I know you're good.
I'm wordy on that. Yes, short answer is 100% I'm in favor of the death penalty. One of the next guys up to be executed is out of the 8th Circuit.
Okay.
A guy named Stephen Bixby killed 2 deputies in Abbeville in 2003. My predecessor tried the case, but I've been involved with the appeals the whole time.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll get him to the death chamber soon.
That's good.
Yeah.
Starting running for AG, because I want to ask you about a case. We're in Autry County, big, a lot of people in our area watching today. The Boyd Spivey case, stand your ground, whatever. Anything you want to say on that case? And if you had been to AG, would you have done anything different or anything?
I can tell you this, I have not reviewed that whole file.
Okay.
What I've seen has been what I've read in the media, and I've always had a position as a prosecutor that I don't want to weigh in on something that I haven't had an opportunity as a prosecutor. I think it's irresponsible of me to do that. I know the Attorney General's office conflicted the case or sent the case to the 7th Circuit Solicitor. Mm-hmm. The 7th Circuit Solicitor is a guy named Barry Barnett. Mm-hmm. Barry Barnett there's not a more professional or competent prosecutor in this entire state than 7th Circuit Solicitor Barry Barnett. And I trust him to make the right decisions on that case as he's reviewing that case file. And I can tell you the people that have personal interest in this case can take what he says to the bank.
I appreciate you saying that.
Case.
Another thing in Autry County, we've got 2 police. We got a Autry County Police Department, and we got a Sheriff's Department, basically because of a political dispute way back when. What's your view on that? Should it be under the sheriff or?
It doesn't seem like a good model to me. Yep. The sheriff is elected every 4 years, just like I am.
Accountable to the people.
Accountable to the people. And I think to take the main policing out from under the sheriff and give it to an unelected body is probably not a good model. You need your law enforcement, your county law enforcement, I believe, accountable to the elected sheriff. So, Again, I don't know all the history of why that happened here, Autry, because I'm not from this area. But it just seems to be to be an odd model. I think I know Sheriff Thompson here. His chief deputy is a guy named Tom Fox. Great guys.
Good man.
I think probably the best course of business would be to figure out a way to get the sheriff back as the authority for your county law enforcement.
Yes. A lot of people in the state are talking about judicial reform. Tell me your thoughts on our system in South Carolina right now. We're really short on time. I'm sorry.
Right. I'll be real quick on this. The way we do it now doesn't work. Actually, we have a legislatively dominated judicial selection process. We need to balance constitutionally the branches of government. Mm-hmm. We need the executive branch involved. My plan would be to go completely to a federal model.
Okay.
I believe the governor should appoint, and the governor can have a committee like the Judicial Merit Screening Commission that vets candidates for governor and applicants. But I think the governor needs to appoint one judge per position, and then have the legislature give an up or down vote, just like the president does on the national level when a Supreme Court justice is nominated or any federal judge. Those judges and justices, candidates, they're not running around Congress having to beg for votes. Mm-hmm. Right now, Autry, our judicial candidates are having to run around the state house when they're elected and beg Senator so-and-so or House member so-and-so for a vote. And a lot of those same guys that they're asking for a vote from are the lawyers that are practicing in front of them.
I agree.
It just is not a good system, and it's broken. We need to fix it.
Thank you for saying that. Yeah. I hate to do this in about a minute, though. Tell us what you're going to do for us if elected Attorney General.
Okay, first and foremost, we're going to keep families safe, Autry. There's a reason why 18 sheriffs around South Carolina are already endorsing me for this position. They know the work I've done. They know what I'm going to do in leading the criminal justice system to attack violent crimes, drug trafficking, human trafficking, domestic violence, property crimes, you name it. We're going to be at the tip of the spear, and they're going to have a leader and David Stumbo is their attorney general that's going to be the leader for the criminal justice system. Secondly, though, we need to make sure we're fighting the policy battles the right way. I've been a lifetime conservative. I've been a Republican my whole life. To me, that's very important. Where you know where I'm going to stand on the policy issues, whether it's life, election integrity, medical freedom for parents, parental rights and education, Second Amendment rights, just go on and down the line. And we need to create a pro-business environment in our state. We need to have a judicial system that supports our businesses to allow us to thrive here in South Carolina. So bottom line is I want to make South Carolina greater than it already is. I want to make it safer than it already is. But we have a good state, and we're going to make it greater. And I want to be a positive leader in Columbia.
Amen. David, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Autry.
Thank you.
Yep.
Friends, as we finish up today, we are in election season. Do your homework. Make sure you vote. Primaries matter. I want to thank David for joining us today. I encourage you to join us next time.